next thing that we need to learn is how to really work with our views and our space and understand the workspace of InDesign. Now there are basically two main views in Adobe InDesign, and right now we're in one of them, and that's the normal page view. And in the normal page view, you view everything, and basically you know you're in your normal view a couple of different ways. For one, you can come up here to your application bar and go over to this little box here called Screen Mode and click on the downward facing arrow next to it, and then you'll get your little pop-up menu. And as you can see, there's a checkbox next to Normal. So that tells you that you're in the normal view. Also, when you're in this dialog box, you can change your views. You can change to Preview, Bleed, and Slug directly from this dialog box. And those are the four views that are available to you, with Normal and Preview being the two main ones. So we're going to come back here in a second, but I want to just quickly talk about the normal view. When you see these boxes right here, this box represents a text frame. And in the normal view, you can easily click on that area, and that gives you the ability to edit that text frame. Well, if you come back here and you go to Preview, and you click off, still allows you to click text frames, but you won't see any text frames or other frames that aren't selected. So that's the main difference between Preview and Normal View, is in the Preview view, you're looking at the document pretty much as it's going to look when you print it out. And you can still select things like a text frame, but you're not going to see where exactly those are unless you go back into your normal view. And then the other two modes that we have that I just mentioned a minute ago are Bleed and Slug. If you have set up a bleed area in your document when you set up your document preferences, if you go to Bleed, Bleed is going to show you with this black line right there where your bleed area is. So that's if you're taking something to a printer to be professionally printed and you want to know where is my layout going to be trimmed, that bleed will show you that. And then finally you have the slug area, where if you set up slug so that you could make some notes in the page but you know that it's going to be trimmed off later, that will show you what area you have to make your printer notes that's going to be trimmed off later. So those are your four main display modes, and you can access them from the application bar right there. Now you also may have noticed that when we're up here in this menu, that in addition to those four different viewing modes, there was this fifth one down here at the bottom called Presentation. Well, if you click on Presentation, what you see is you get a full screen view of your document. And this is nice if you want to look at your document and see how it actually looks without any of the distractions of the program or the application bar. So Presentation is really helpful for that reason. To get out of it, just hit Escape, and then that will bring you back to your normal view. Now, in addition to changing the different views that are available in Adobe InDesign, you can also change the magnification. Now, right now we're zoomed out pretty far on this particular layout, and if you want to go into this text and maybe check it out and change some words here, that's pretty hard to do in this particular view. So what you can do is actually magnify or zoom in to the document. One easy way that you can do that is you can come up here once again to your application bar and go to the spot that says 53%, and that's your zoom level. Click on the downward facing arrow, and then you get some preset percentages for how to zoom in. Let's go ahead and go to 800%. As you can see, you zoomed way in on the page. Now that's probably a little too much. So let's go back up and go to 125. And now you can see that you're zoomed in pretty well to the document so that you can easily read the text, but you're still getting a fair look at how the document generally looks. I'm going to go back to about 75%, and then as you can see, I'm using these little scrolls down here. This is one way to navigate. You can center your window by using these scroll bars on either side of the window. But you have some other tools for navigating and viewing as well. You also have the ability to come down here to this little magnifying glass, which is the zoom tool, and click on that. And when you go over your documents, you'll see that you have this little magnifying glass with a plus sign in it. And if you want to click and drag over an area, like this headline, that will zoom in on that area for you using the magnifying glass. Now if you want to zoom back out, you just simply hold down your Alt key and pull over the headline, and you can see that it zooms back out. Now another thing that you can use to get around is the hand tool, and that's directly above your magnifying glass. You grab this hand tool, and what this will do is this will move around the screen by grabbing it and moving it around wherever you want it within your window. So the magnifying tool and the hand tool down here in the toolbar, two things you can use to navigate your windows. One other way that you can quickly and easily change how your layout looks is to go up to the View menu. And the View menu is located up here on your menu bar. And when you're in here, you can see that you have some different options for changing your view. And you can zoom in or zoom out simply by going here to one of the options in the View menu. And the two options that are probably used most commonly in this particular window is the Fit Page in Window or the Fit Spread in Window options. And if you use one of these, you can see that it fits your document back into kind of the standard arrangement that you had when you started InDesign. And if this particular view is a little too far zoomed out for you, you can actually go back to your View menu and go to Actual Size, and that will bring up a zoomed in version of the document so that you can see a little bit better the elements on the page. One more option that you have for the view under the View menu is you have the entire pasteboard. And if you go there, that's going to show you everything that you have sitting outside of the print area or outside the document itself on this side here, like in this area, that's just waiting to go on the document. A lot of people designing will put different elements that they want to put in there over on the pasteboard, over on the sign to work with before they actually lay them out. And then they can view the entire pasteboard to see what they have available to put in their layout. And that's one way to work. Next, we're going to talk about rulers. And rulers in InDesign are located right here across the top and the left-hand side. And they're there to help you lay out elements in your design so that you can have a more accurate layout. And the most important thing to know about using InDesign rulers is that the measurements in InDesign are in picas. And picas are a common unit used in publishing. But if you don't really want to use them yourself, you can actually change how your rulers function and change them from picas by going up to your preferences. Go to Edit Preferences and then go to Units and Increments. And when you open your Units and Increments in your Preferences dialog box, you'll see that you have ruler units. And currently it's specified that horizontal and vertical are both in picas. Simply click on that, and then you have the ability to change it to something else, like millimeters, centimeters, or inches. So we're going to go ahead and change it to inches. Do the same for vertical. And then just go ahead and hit OK. And now when you come back to your window, you'll see that you have your rulers measuring in inches across the page. Rulers are just one way that you can guide your layout in InDesign. Another way you can do it is actually through a thing called guides. Now, guides are just horizontal or vertical lines that you add to your layout, and you can use them to line up elements on your page. And how you do that is you pull them out from the ruler, and then you put them on the part of the page where you want a guide. Maybe I want, say, a layout guide at 2 inches, so I drag it there and drop it. And now you have this blue line that's a guide for your layout. So you know that if you want to bring a text frame in or a frame in and put it at 2 inches, you can pull it right to that guide and it'll be perfectly in line with 2 inches on the page. Now, right now, your ruler guides are this kind of cyan color. And for some people, they're easy to see, and for some people, they're not the greatest thing in the world. A different color would work better. Now, this is one thing that you're not going to change in your Preferences menu. You actually want to go up to Layout in your menu bar, click on that, and come down to the third thing on your list, which is Ruler Guides, and click on that. And you're going to get this little dialog box that gives you two options. First off, you have the View Threshold. And the View Threshold, you can click on this box and select a percentage. And whatever percentage you put into this box, that's the threshold for when you can see the guides and when you're zoomed in or zoomed out too much to actually be able to see your guides. So that's what the view threshold does. Now next you have on this list, you have your color. And currently your color for your ruler guides is set to cyan. But if you come down here into this menu, you have a list of colors that you can choose and pick from to change the color of your ruler guides. And I'm going to go ahead and go with a nice regular blue color and hit OK. And then when I come out here, I'm going to pull down a new ruler guide, and you're going to see that it's now in this darker blue color. Another great tool that will help you lay out more accurately and effectively in InDesign is using the grid view. And to view the grid in InDesign, you need to go up here to your menu bar and go under View, click on that, and then come down to your Grids and Guides, which is near the bottom of that menu. And then come over here, and you'll see these last three options are Show Baseline Grid, Show Document Grid, and Snap to Document Grid. And we're going to go ahead and show the document grid. And when you click on that, you can see that you got this graph paper-like effect here in InDesign. And if you zoom in by going to View, Zoom In, you can see that now you have all these helpful little squares to help you line things up in InDesign. And the next thing that you can do is go back to the View menu, go to Grids and Guides, and then I'm going to go Snap to the Document Grid. And whenever you pick a Snap to option, what will happen is that when you're pulling something like this text box here up, you will see that it's going to snap from one section of squares to the next. It'll just snap right to it. Now, if you're not sold on the way the grid works to lay things out and you want to do things more precisely through maybe seeing your XY coordinates, if you're an XY coordinate sort of person, you actually have the ability to use the information panel to be able to tell where you are on the page in XY coordinate fashion. And in order to do that, what you're going to do is you're going to go up to Window, and remember this is where you have your additional panels that you can view simply by clicking on them and bringing that panel up or that window up, and go ahead and click Info, and over here you will see this little window which is your info window. And when you've got the info window open, if you come over here and you click and drag, you will see it start moving. And what you see with the XY is actually where your cursor is located on the screen. And that gives you your XY coordinates. So if that's something that's helpful for you, the info panel is where you see that. And another thing that you can do with the info panel is that if you come over here and you grab the rectangle tool and you start at say 0.5-ish and you click and you drag, you will see on the right side of the info panel, the W and the H, that's your width and height. So you can actually drag out a square to a specific width and height, maybe 2 to 5 and 1.5, and that will tell you exactly what the width and height is so you can get an accurately measured rectangle. Now sometimes when you're working in InDesign, you get a workspace layout that you really like and you want to be able to save so that you can use it with another document later on. Now to be able to save this workspace, all I have to do is I have to go up to the Workspace menu on my application bar. And the Workspace menu is located up on the application bar, and it's this little area right here. And currently my workspace is set to Essentials. And if you click on this, you will see that you actually have different views that you can pick. But before I pick one of these different views, I want to go ahead and click New Workspace. And when I click New Workspace, I'm going to get this dialog box, and it's going to ask me to name it, and I'm going to call this Trial just for the heck of it. And it's going to capture where the panel locations are, so where that is, and the menu customization. If I had customized this menu across the top some way, it would save that for me. So go ahead and hit OK. And once that's done, you will see that up here it now says that this particular workspace, how the screen's laid out, is called Trial, and I'm in that view. Now, if I've decided that there's really not that much difference between the workspace I just set up and the original, I can go ahead and delete the workspace by going to Delete Workspace, and it will show the name as Trial, and go ahead and delete that. And then it will take me back to the original Essentials workspace, and it deleted that workspace for me.